And today we're going to do the biochemical testing of each of our stock organisms, and so this might be a little bit of a long video, but I'm going to try to make it very short. So if we look at the TSI here, we've got gas, we've got A over AG, and that matches our testing results that we should get. This is citrate positive, you see the blue. This is urease negative. MIO, we're about to add the Kovacs reagent to right now. So I've got the Kovacs reagent here. Oh my goodness. Okay, Kovacs reagent. And so I'm going to twirl and then pull my reagent up into my pipette. Gonna add 3 to 4 drops. We'll just do 4. That way we can see if we've got any red color change here. I'm gonna shake it up real quick. Okay, so it looks like so far it's yellow. And that is accurate because it should be modal with negative indole and ornithine positive, and that's what it is. We've got, well, you can't really see the cloudiness of the purple there, but there is, oh, that's really hard to tell, but it is ornithine positive because it's a cloudy purple, purpley gray. And there is movement away from the stab line. Honestly, it's not picking up very well on the camera here, but the results match there. And then now we're going to do the nitrate. There is growth in there, so we're going to add the reagent drops. So I'm going to swirl reagent A, and I'm going to pull up 5 drops. I'll just pull up some out of there. I'm going to immediately close that, and I'm going to put 5 drops of reagent A into the nitrate tube. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and now I'm going to get reagent B. I'm not going to show you this for every single one because this is just going to be too much. I'll swirl and then pull up some from there using a pipette. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing, 5 drops. And we're going to observe for a color change for 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to start that. So there's the red color change. This is after 24 hours of incubation. Of all of these tubes together, and this is what you will see. So it's only taken a minute so far, and we already have that beautiful red color change, and that's exactly what we should have. So this is perfect. These are perfect results for this organism, and we're going to continue. One thing I did want to note is there is no gas in the Durham tube, the upside down tube, in the nitrate here, although there was gas in the TSI tube. So the next one we're going to do is E. coli, although we've done that already on another video. So I'm going to pause this while I change out the tubing. Okay, this is E. coli, and we did end up getting new strains this year, so some of these results may not match previous videos because they're a different strain of the organism. Again, this is 24 hours incubation. If you look at it, it's very similar to Enterobacter aeruginis. However, Enterobacter aeruginis is known as the citrate positive E. coli, and if you can see, this is citrate is negative. The MIO tube is very different also in regard to the bacteria can be either variable positive for motility and variable positive for ornithine. And it looks like our ornithine honestly is negative here. I haven't done the indole yet, but again, this is E. coli. So E. coli is MIO variable positive, positive, variable positive, whereas Enterobacter aeruginis is positive, negative, positive. So in these ones that we currently have, there is a variation there, and they're not very, they're not going to be exactly the same. So I'm adding my 3 to 4 drops of the Kovacs reagent there, and going to look for that beautiful pink. Okay, so this is indole positive. It's very, there we go. Indole positive. You can see the pink color change, and it's clear and yellow throughout, but the motility is pretty much staying. It's going out from the stab line. I'm sorry, this is having a hard time focusing. So that the motility is positive there. Now let's do our nitrate reduction tube. All of the Enterobacteriaceae should be positive, so we're hoping that's going to be the case. There are no bubbles in the Durham tube, the upside down little test tube in there. So I'm going to add my reagent A again. So we're going to do those 5 drops of A. A is the darker one. Okay, I've just been keeping some of it in my pipette there, so we'll do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's followed directly by reagent B, 5 of those. And we are waiting for 3 minutes to see a color change, but you already see that it's turning red there, so this is going really well. See that beautiful red? That's not even a minute yet. It was only a few seconds, so that's perfect. So this is what you should see for E. coli. These are our stock organisms currently right now. I'm going to switch out the tubes for the next one. So this is Serratia marcescens. This is another organism that we have in the laboratory. This is another family member of the Enterobacteriaceae family, so it's a GNR, and it is a late lactose fermenter. So if you see on our TSI here, we can either see K/A, which is what we have here, which means that it's not fermenting the sugars that are up here, and the bottom is acidic, which shows very true to the glucose fermentation, which is characteristic of Enterobacteriaceae. There is a little bit of gas, and that's not very common. At least that's not what we're expecting to see, but there is a tiny bit of gas there. It's probably from me moving it around when I stabbed it. The media was moving around, so I might have introduced some gas myself and that not be from the organism. So citrate is positive here. So you see that beautiful blue. We have urease negative with the yellow. We're about to do the indole. This is supposed to be positive, negative, positive. So we're going to look at that in a second. And of course, the nitrate's supposed to be positive. So let's add our indole real quick. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 drops. All right, and we're going to look for the color change. Again, it's supposed to be positive, negative, positive. So this should be a yellow. And that's what it looks like it's turning into. All right, let's look. I'm going to look at this off. You can't really tell very well because I don't know why my camera's not picking up the MIO very well. There is growth away from the stab line, and even though it looks clear on this video, it is cloudy. It's a cloudy purple, so that is positive for ornithine, and again, it's negative with the indole. And let's do our nitrate now. So 5 drops of A. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5 drops of B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll wait for that color change. It looks like it's already starting. There we are. Okay, so we're not even really needing to wait at all for those 3 minutes. This is a beautiful color change, which is expected. So again, this is Serratia marcescens, and everything is characteristic of the results that you should be seeing there. Okay, so let's move on to our next one. So this is Klebsiella pneumoniae. It looks correct for all the results that we should see. The only thing that I want to note about our strain of the Klebsiella pneumoniae that we have in our lab is that even though the urease is supposed to be positive, it doesn't really turn that bright pink. It's like a subtle pink, whereas when it's negative, it's that really bright yellow. So this is a subtle pink. It's not picking up very well on the camera, but everything else is looking great. We have the A over A with gas, so A over AG, that's expected. We have the citrate positive, so that bluing of the media there. We have a slight pink to this. It might look a little orangey pink, so be careful with that. And this is supposed to be negative, negative, negative. And we have no gas in the Durham tube, but we do have growth, so we're going to look for the color change there. So let's get started with the indole. Okay, we're going to add our drops. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do 3 or 4. Either is okay. Putting the top back on, and we're going to look for that pink, if there is pink. But we should be seeing yellow, right? Because it's supposed to be negative, negative, negative. And there's that yellow. It's turning yellow. So it didn't go away from the stab line. This is a very good picture of how clear it is. It's not going away from the stab line, and it's yellow. So if you want to rewind back in your video to see the other ones, it was hard to pick up, and we thought it kind of looked clear on the camera, but it was actually cloudy. It was very hard to see, but you can see that on this one, and you can see that difference. So let's now add our drops of A reagent and B reagent. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's A. Here comes B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and we're gonna wait for that red. It's already starting to turn just like the others. So this is turning out to hold true for all of them, which is great. So look at that red. All right, no need to wait. So this is Klebsiella pneumoniae. Everything is characteristic. That blue in the citrate tube is kind of faint, but it's there. It looks a little more green, I think, on the camera than it does in real life. In real life, it has a beautiful blue. It's not as blue as some others, so be careful about that. And notice underneath here that the gas is showing up in the MIO tube as well. Okay, at the bottom here, it has been lifted. So let me get the next one. Those were all our lactose fermenters, and remember that Serratia is a late lactose fermenter. So if you're growing it on McConkey, you might want to put it back in for another night, and I'll pull it out, put it in the fridge so that you can see hopefully that transformation. Okay, now we're in the non-lactose fermenters that we have in class. This is an old strain that we have, and it's kind of finicky in the TSI slant. This is Proteus mirabilis, and you're not really seeing too much of a blackening at all here for the TSI slant. We have an acidic butt, so that shows fermentation of glucose, but we have alkaline on the top showing that or on the slant showing that those sugars are not being fermented, and it should be H2S positive. And this one, the strain that we have, is usually very, very faint blackening to be seen. And then with this organism, it is variable positive for citrate. So you see at the top here, there's blue at the top, but then it's green at the bottom, okay? So that's characteristic of the strain that we have. But again, it's supposed to be variable positive, so that matches. Then we have that beautiful hot pink urease, and it's supposed to be urease positive. For the MIO tube, it's supposed to be positive, negative, positive, and it looks like that so far. It is a swarmer, okay? So you would see really nothing on the plate until you draw a line. We've done a video on that before, and it's just swarming all over the plate, so it looks like there's nothing on the plate but a sheen, and then you put a line through and you're like, oh, that's all bacterial growth, and it can be in waves. So let's do the indole for this and see what we get. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Doing 4 because you can do 3 or 4, and I'm trying to have a little bit more so that you can see. Oh, look at that. Okay, so we got the yellow. Okay, and the rest of it, come on. There is cloudiness. Again, this is the problem with trying to pick it up on camera. There is cloudiness throughout the purple media, which indicates a ornithine positive. And then there is growth away from the stab line. Having trouble focusing. Which is showing motility. And again, since they're swarmers, they absolutely are able to move away from the stab line. Now let's... because of flagella, obviously. Okay, so let's do our 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for A, and reagent B will have 5. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And observe for red color, nitrate reduction. And it's already starting to turn red. You're supposed to give it up to 3 minutes. Again, we're not having any trouble with that. It's immediately turning red. We don't have any gas showing in the Durham tube, but that red is really happening. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so this is another non-lactose fermenter. This is Proteus vulgaris, and it is a new strain that we got this year. So it will react a little bit differently than what we had last time that you would see in class. So the H2S production is showing up really, really well. So anytime that you have a blackening of the media, that means it's an acidic environment, okay? It has to have been an acidic environment to be showing the H2S positive or the blackening of the iron in there. You do see gas here, so we can say that this is K over AG and H2S positive, and that's absolutely perfect. Another possibility would be that it would be A over AG, but that's not what we have. The citrate is a variable negative, and this guy looks negative, so that's right on. Beautiful, beautiful urease positive again. That's what you get with our proteases. Proteus species or genus here. And then the MIO tube is supposed to be positive, positive, negative. We haven't done the indole yet. The ornithine is clear. It's a clear, kind of grayish purple. I'm not sure that it had enough time in the incubator, but it is clear, indicating a negative, even though that color change might not be perfect. And then we have no gas production in the Durham tube here. So let's get on the indole and move forward. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's see here. So our indole is supposed to be positive. Oh my goodness. I have a note in my notes that it may test negative. That has been seen before in our lab, so that's probably what's happening here. I think I got that out of our textbook too, that might end up happening, even though it doesn't say variable positive. So check that out. It may just be the strain that we have. We'll see. Or, you know, it may be different for you. Let's do the 5 drops here. Obviously, if you have something that doesn't make sense, you would want to retest it. I'm in the middle of a video, and it looks like I've seen that happen before from my notes. So I'm just going to go with that because that seems to be a historical thing with our organisms here. All right, let's go with this red. Oh, there's the red. All right, so it's already turning red. So this looks good. This is what you would end up getting from our organism in the laboratory for Proteus vulgaris. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. All right, this is another non-lactose fermenter. This is Salmonella typhimurium. It is obviously an H2S producer right there. You can see that, and it's the blackening of the TSI slant. But again, if you have blackening throughout, you know that it's supposed to be an acidic environment. So I'm not sure why the slant is actually black up here, because it should be it should be alkaline over acid with H2S production. And in my notes, it says weak, and that's from our textbook. So this strain obviously has a little more to say about that. It does have gas, and I believe this is one of the ones that we got as a new strain, so this may not be the same as what we have seen before in our lab. At the beginning of the semester, we had an awful experience where we lost practically all of our organisms, and so we got new strains of ones, so that's why we're making this video, to show what the typical results would be for these new organisms. And there's been a mixture of them, so I'm just doing them all. We didn't get Morganella morgani yet. We lost that one as well. But you can see there is gas production in this one, and it has to have been acid on both the butt and the slant. So there we are with that. We have a citrate negative right here. It's urease negative. It looks very, very cloudy in this MIO tube, but that, let's see. From what I can tell, that's just the motility. Like, there's so much growth in there. You can't even see the stab line or anything, so it's very modal. The two non-modal organisms should be Klebsiella and Shigella. We haven't done Shigella yet. So no gas production in the Durham tube as well. So let's do the indole and see if that fits what it should be as well, because that should be negative. So it should be positive, negative, negative. Okay, so you see that yellow, that is negative. It doesn't, it's very unclear as to whether the ornithine actually matches what it should be either. It is a gray, and it's very, very cloudy, but I believe that's from the motility. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at our organisms through practice. And let's move on to the nitrate reduction. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're looking for a red color change. It's already happening. Perfect. All right, now we're going to move to the next one and the last one that we have of our Enterobacteriaceae family. This is going to be Shigella sonnei. All right, and what we do also to distinguish between Salmonella and Shigella is use the hectonenteric auger. And if you'll notice the difference in the TSI of both of them, the Shigella does not produce the H2S and in the presence of iron, but the Salmonella does. So that's what you can also do to look at that besides just looking at the TSI slant. All right, so if you're looking at this, the TSI is absolutely perfect because it's a non-lactose fermenter, and so the sugars that are up on the slant are not being fermented, whereas the glucose is, just like all of the family Enterobacteriaceae. Citrate is supposed to be negative, and that's true. Urease is negative, like it's supposed to be. Shigella, like I said before, is one of the only two that are not modal, so it's on the stab line there. Everything else, it should be negative, negative, positive, so it should be ornithine positive. And that's not, that one's not really matching either, so we'll see if the indole matches. It's a purple, but it looks clear, as you can see through there. So that's a little concerning because it should be cloudy to show ornithine positive. So let's add our drops. Okay, so the indole is holding true. It is negative. All right. Let's do our nitrate. 1, 2. It's reagent A, reagent B, and we see it's already turning red as well, so that's perfect. So that has turned very red. It looks beautiful. All right, so this is Shigella sonnei, our classroom organism. Taking a couple of pictures here. All right, so let's move on to our last one. It's our non-lactose fermenter, or non-fermenter also. It is not, Pseudomonas aeruginosa is not in the Enterobacteriaceae family. And this is the only GNR in this grouping that we use to indicate non-lactose fermenters, that group. But Pseudomonas aeruginosa is it's a big baddie in in the clinical setting causes a lot of problems, and you'll always see it in the news, especially with cystic fibrosis patients. It colonizes in respiratory therapy machines. It loves water and can survive detergent. So you need to scrub, and make sure that you clean. If you have an at-home CPAP system for sleeping, you need to make sure to clean it appropriately, because this guy is highly resistant to antibiotics, and has a lot of virulence factors that can really make it very hardy and very hard for you to kill. So as we expect, it should be red over red, K over K, because it is a non-fermenter. It is not, again, part of Enterobacteriaceae family. Citrate is positive, and that's true. You see the beautiful blue of the agar there. The urease is, it's variable negative. This looks like, honestly, in between. It's kind of pinkish orange. So in our lab, it would be slightly positive, which fits the bill. Looking at the motility, and we don't have indole in there yet. It's supposed to be motile and indole negative and ornithine negative, and it definitely, hold on, it is definitely hard to see this on the video, but it is purple and clear. You can see the rack behind through the media. There's a lot of bubbles in there, but there is growth away from the stab line, which shows motility, but it's very hard to see that. It's very fine if you're looking at it in person. So we'll get to the indole in just a second. It does have bubbles in the Durham tube, and sometimes it is super bubbly. Right now you can see just bubbles at the top. Sometimes I see it where it's bubbles are just rising from the bottom going up to the top. And I think you've seen that in a different video that I did. But it is absolute there. It's growing. You see all that. And there are lots of bubbles. So obviously, if there are bubbles, we're thinking that the nitrate has been changed to nitrogen gas, okay? So we'll see how that reacts. Do you think it's going to be immediately positive, or do you think that it's going to be negative and then positive after zinc? That's a good question. So I'll let you simmer on that for just a minute. We'll do the indole. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, indole is supposed to be negative.